Last month we heard that the first formal talks on a post-Brexit open skies deal with the US were cut short after US negotiators offered an inferior deal to what we currently enjoy. So when does the Secretary of State plan to return to the negotiating table, and will he do so with a sense of reality of the impact that hard Brexit is having on the aviation industry?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I just say to the Honourable Lady she doesn't and shouldn't believe everything she reads in the papers. The discussions that have been taking place between my department and our counterparts in the United States have been cordial, have been going well, and there are no issues as an impediment towards a sensible post-Brexit agreement between the two countries.
C. MacDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A key requirement in any deal with the US may well be that UK airlines require to be UK majority owned, yet very few would be able to meet that standard. What are the realistic chances of the US ditching this long-standing policy for the sake of the UK?
Well, Mr. Speaker, clearly aircraft ownership, airline ownership as part of the European Union is more complex than it was in the pre-EU US days. But there is nobody who is seriously suggesting that we're not going to continue with the same kind of transatlantic partnerships we have at the moment. And British Airways and American Airlines, for example, are operating lockstep with each other. And so we will progress in due time towards a sensible agreement that continues the extremely prosperous, important and successful transatlantic aviation routes.
Peter Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've got less than a year to sort this out. Already, people who are attempting to book foreign holidays for next Easter, less than a year from now, are finding that having to accept a clause in the contract that waives any right to compensation if their holiday is cancelled because of problems with the lack of an open skies agreement. Is the Secretary of State trying to tell us that those reports from reputable travel agents are also mythology that shouldn't believe? Is it not the fact that the travel industry and the aviation industry understands how serious this problem is becoming, and the government in its complacency does not?
No, it's not accurate at all. If you listen to the chief executives of IAG, of EasyJet, of a number of other airlines, I have had no airline, bar one, come to my desk and suggest that they are concerned about the situation. I think we know which the one is, and no other airline believes there is any likelihood of any impediment to aviation next year. And indeed, Mr. Speaker, there won't be, because can you imagine, Mr. Speaker, a situation where the Spanish or the Italian or the Portuguese or the Greek governments did not want holidaymakers to arrive from the United Kingdom in 2019? I can tell you, I've spoken to my counterparts, and they snort with derision at the idea that the planes won't fly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And snorting with derision may be the response that the Secretary of State has had, but people in my constituency who work in the aviation industry are really concerned about how we are going to function out with the European Aviation Safety Agency. So please, can the Secretary of State tell us a bit more? Can I press him on this? How are we going to function out with the European Aviation Safety Agency?
Well, the Civil Aviation Authority, Mr. Speaker, is making all preparations necessary if indeed it needs to return to operate as a body in the form that it used to. However, it is the government's policy and our intent to remain part of EASA. There is no reason not to. There are countries inside and outside the European Union that are part of it. We supply a substantial proportion of its expertise. The leadership of EASA wants us to stay, and I am confident that as we get through the process of negotiation, that is where we'll end up.
Hopkins.